This is the Power of OZmosis Podcast, powered by the vidwheel Creator Network. Hi everyone, this is John Osberg with the Power of OZmosis video podcast, powered by vidwheel Creator Network. Today we are again in studio, and in this time it's going to be a little bit different. I'm joined today by Kevin Schmidle of KeyBank and American Cancer Society, Buffalo City Mission, who has been on the show before. This was a podcast back, I want to say, in February. And so today, again, we're doing things a little bit differently, again, in studio. And I'm going to turn over, though, to Kevin to introduce himself first, and then we'll talk more about how today's going to work in this iteration of the Power of OZmosis video podcast.
Thanks,
Kevin.
John.
What's up, brother?
Oh, good seeing you, bro. Man, let's rock and roll.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, thanks for that intro. You know, I'm a business banker with KeyBank, volunteer with the American Cancer Society. You and I are working on Veterans Flag Football League, City Mission, very charitable, and it's part of how you and I ended up here. I mean, you know, I've known you for almost a year and a half now, and I've seen your transformation almost, and you've seen a lot of growth in me. And I, you know, as we ended up here, you've spent so much time doing podcasts and talking to people and getting to know them and really bringing out the best in them. But the genesis of this is, let's uncover John a little bit more. I mean, you know, we only have a limited amount of time here.
Sure.
This will probably be the first of, you know, a series of these. Yeah. But I think it's really important, as you do too, but really important for people to understand, you know, who you are and what you're all about, you know, where you've been, where you are now, and where you're going. I mean, for those of you who don't know John, I'll just say a couple things. You know, you're incredibly intelligent, successful, charitable. I mean, business first, 30 under 30. You're blessed with a silver tongue. I mean, you're just, you know.
My dad said that to me.
You're pretty good looking.
So you're like, what the heck is this? This is really different. But no, you're right back.
But I mean, you've got a heart as big as this room, and I think that all those things, you're very humble and don't like to promote that, but that needs to come out. But at the core of that, people, I think, for the benefit of myself and you, but everybody who's going to see this, is really to uncover you and, you know, like I said, where you've been, where you are now, and where you're going. And I think really one of the things I wanted to just discuss is, how did you get here? You know, John Osberg, OZmosis. You know, I think you told me something recently that you were walking with your mom, and your mom said, "John, you seem so happy now." So in our little fireside chat here without a fireplace,
there's enough fire in here, enough energy, it's combustible.
So, you know, how did you get here? You know, and don't give me cheesy, you know, took the 290 to the 90 and like, but let's
That would be a Mike Davern response, or an Eric Eustace response.
Right,
who,
Eustace.
We recently spent time with. And yeah, I just want to call out too. So, you know, reverse podcast, right? So this was something that came out of our discussions in our weekly, daily conversations, whether text, phone, in person. You know, and I'd be remiss and not Johnny OZmosis if I didn't first say acknowledging, you know, you, who you are, the influence you've had on I almost feel like I'm going to get emotional even saying this. I wasn't expecting this. I think it's just because I've been this has been a crazy week, you know, just busy and stuff, of course. But I have learned so much from you. It feels like it's been 13 years or whatever, right. 15 years, not a year and a half, right? Or 16 years, I guess, with a year and 6 months. So the other thing I want to call out too is that I have my sensors in my mind going off saying, John, this is different. You know, this is going to feel foreign in a sense that I am going to talk about myself.
We're uncovering you.
Well, then the other thing too is, again, shout out to another gentleman, Grant Foster, who really gave me some great tips on like how to even try to amplify or optimize, I should say, the podcast more, which is exploratory and don't maybe alienate the audience through these, like, you know, idiosyncrasies or proclivities that we share in common that maybe others don't. But again, it's featuring me, so I appreciate you. And
yeah, and this isn't, by the way, and I know you would agree with me, this isn't self-promoting John Osberg. I think
it's a lineage story almost of the career,
narrative. Not even career, but your life. You know, how did you...
One and the same almost, right?
You know,
now it is.
You know, you say your LinkedIn profile, agent of transformation. Yeah. But that starts with you. And I mean, it's important for people to understand as they listen to you and they learn from you and you continue this journey through life and educating and motivating people. It's funny, I was trying to think of how would I describe you and where you're going. And last night it popped into my mind that you want to help humanity succeed. Everybody wants to see humanity succeed. You want to help them. And that is kind of your mission. But to get there, let's drill down and peel back like what's inside that, that 8 pounds right
Massive
there.
Massive head. It's more than eight,
man. and then Ryan Fitzpatrick beard. But
Fitzpatrick.
How did you get here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Let's jump into it too. I want to be respectful of our audience's time too, and I appreciate anyone listening. And I appreciate you again and this great question and your recall of everything I'm up to. And so going back to what you said, my mom, who again, huge influence in my life, both my parents, extended family, again, mentors like yourself and a slew of others. But, walking with my mom maybe a month or two ago, candidly, right, there's been a bit of a fear, right? Like anything about what I'm doing.
You left a solid job to do this.
Yeah, benefit. All that. And so, a parent's instinct is to protect their offspring. And it's out of love. And, I love my parents deeply. I love you. I love, so many things and people and causes. And so I think tracing back, though, to that conversation, it was kind of a light bulb moment, right? Where, my mom said it and actually helped galvanize it in my head. Like, almost like I wasn't thinking in that sense. I've never been happier. Right. I've never been fitter. I've never been healthier in mind and body and spirit. And it's a result of just little daily disciplines and actions that have gotten here. So again, to answer that first question, how did we get here today? It started in the formative years with my family and with the people that influenced me and, the individuals, the coaches that I was around. I play a lot of sports. And so, the one thing I think that I would take from, one of the main lessons I learned as a child, and again, in my formative years, young adult, was something that my parents, specifically my dad, told me, and I'll never forget it. It's like, John, when you see people, and I've said this on other shows or my own or whatever, but I'll say it again because it's incredibly important. It's the cornerstone of which I've built my life, which is when you see people doing something that resonates with you, that you want to do, find within reason. Obviously, not going stalker mode, but sometimes you almost have to, have to kind of chameleonize yourself to being like a stalker, like to be at the same event or the same place of a person, right, or people or groups or companies that are doing things that are amazing, that are inspiring to you.
But most people don't take the leap. Do you know what I mean? Like everybody wants to get to that place of like, yeah, this is how I envision my life. But in the meantime, I've got my job and it's good and I'm happy and this and that. But, to take the next step and say, you know what, I've got to transform myself. When I met you,
oh, that's a great story.
Yeah, but when I met you after the Sabres game, you were like you are now, happy, very talkative and fun to be around in that, but you wanted to change. And I didn't know it. I didn't know that. And same with me, like there were a lot of things I want to improve on too. But you don't come out and say those things, but over time, you were like, yeah, I need to do something different here.
Well, what's interesting, it's a great question because that would be a trace back to October 2019. Remember like yesterday. And it's interesting because when you look back to that, and there's been other situations that have come up in my life recently and whatever in the last 12 months that I've confided in you about, where it was interesting to see how I've reacted to, let's call it adversity or a challenge or maybe a stressful situation. Elements of like candor and neutrality and baseline, response, not reaction. Those things have shown themselves to me in my life. Like even sitting here today, I remember a time where we're sitting with all these lights and crazy setup here. There, my heart rate was up. I was nervous. Right. My heart rate right now is 61. I'm looking at my crazy devices and all this. But the point is, what's your saying? Good for you though. There's an element to for our listeners, audio only. Kevin did a joke there with not having anything on his wrist. So getting back to it though, it's interesting that you say that because at the time of that October 2019 interaction, I was hiding. I was what we call proverbially, not actually in all senses, but lying, hiding, faking, right? Kind of impostoring yourself about life because for me, I didn't have the courage enough to speak it out loud that I was struggling with drinking too much, with not doing the right things with my mind, my body, my career, whatever it was, everything in between. And it bled into the lives of the ones that I love the most around me. And I think the big thing I want to take out of that, though, is if now today I wasn't happy with something, I would just be totally outward about it. I'd be neutral, but I would just say it. Like, it wouldn't be a hiding thing. It's like the courage you derive when you embark on that journey of transformation, which most times in the beginning, you don't even know it is, Kev. You don't even know it's transformation, because transformation is a big word. What does transformation require? It requires energy. And that's why, John's always been the energy guy. Me, talking in third person, the energy guy, a lot of energy. Oh, well, we love the passion. So what does transformation require? Energy. So it's this beautiful bond between the two. But transformation, for our audience, and I've said this in other pods or discussions, isn't this massive, for me, I've lost 55 pounds. I'm running marathons, ultra challenges, starting my own business, whatever. Not to be arrogant, that's just what it was. But getting just to the point where you wake up every day at 7 a.m. and you wanted to wake up at 6, so start waking up at 6:45. Little bits, little pieces to show yourself that you can do
progress.
Yeah, and it's not that bad. Because think about it. This just happened with a client of mine. For the audience, right? I want to lace this with some action item too, as much as I want to educate everyone about me. And I appreciate you being here, Kev. But I had a client that wanted to wake up at 5 a.m. Well, first ask yourself, why do I want to wake up at 5? So when you ask yourself and you really are objective about it, write it down, talk with someone about it, you might realize 5 a.m. isn't really what I need. Okay, so it's 6 a.m. All right, so now you're struggling to get up still because you want to make that hour jump. Or again, if you go back to the 5 a.m., it's a 2-hour jump. That's a big jump.
It's a huge jump. Yeah.
So just do 15 minutes, just little small things. And give yourself that ability to say, you know what, it's not that bad.
And give yourself the credit to say, you know what, I did 15 minutes today.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And to bring it back into focus, I started my journey at the end of 2019 after having a pretty kind of disconcerting experience is the word with my health. It wasn't anything major, but it was on the borderline of potentially being major, and that's where we started to change a lot of this. Less booze, no booze, no alcohol, and then start moving your body and doing other things and that are congruent to that. So then, I had this journey along the way where in the first few months, man, it was tough. I mean, I forget about it almost how tough it was, but I go back and look at pictures and videos and fitness logs and go, wow, that workout, it looks like it should have killed me with where my heart rate was and where everything else was. So
it's funny you think about looking back at bad times, wow, there were some things that seemed traumatic at the time, but I overcame those. And your mind tends to push those away a little bit. Right. But it's
Repression.
It's good to go back and think about that was good. It's good to go back and reflect to say, yeah, I've really come a long way. And man, what I thought was a huge problem back then, wow, I really handled that well. And
that's it.
And when you talk about energy, it's funny because when you think about something you want to do, that you like to do, you get energetic about it. Mm-hmm. Hey, you want to wash the dishes? Not really. So you kind of wash the dishes. But, do you want to go for a run or work out? Absolutely. Your eyes just lit up. And I think, you're a perfect example of that transformation from, you probably, and I've said this, you wake up on Saturdays and you're like, man, last night wasn't as fun as I portrayed it to be. I'm not feeling great. And then how do I move forward from that and transform into who I want to be? And then you start to get energized about something that maybe going out on Friday night and drinking 8 Guinnesses at the Sabres game isn't as fun as I'm thinking it's going to be. I'm going to work out, and you get more energized about that. And that if you have the strength to say, I need to continue this, and you've taken that strength to the next level because you're like, you know what, I'm not just going to cut down on drinking. I'm going to transform everything, mind, body, and soul. And I mean, and your passion, law of attraction is a big thing. And I mean, even your charity, you do charitable works for the right reason. You don't do it to self-promote yourself. You see somebody struggling and you think, how can I help that person? And I think that's the power of osmosis. I mean, we've talked about your business and your name, but for those of you who don't know, it's, look up the definition of osmosis. You won't find it with a Z but
you will one day.
You will one day, yeah. So, but talk about what osmosis in what you're doing, and because I understand it, and I don't know how well it'll come across in this podcast, but you'll get a flavor for it. And it's an important part of your soul, almost
ethos,
your soul,
essence.
your ethos, your essence, and how people can learn from it. And really, it's one of the things I talk about is inertia. Once inertia starts, it keeps going and going. That snowball going down the hill is hard to stop. So that's one of the byproducts of osmosis, is that inertia. I'm in your world, and we've got other people that are like, yeah, let's do some more charitable works. Let's do. Sorry, I just made a noise.
It's all good. Yeah,
that'll be loud on the microphone.
Sorry, everyone.
So,
great question. So what is osmosis? So let's step back to what osmosis is. We already unpacked the genesis of it back in the first podcast we did. Again, you are a co-creator, co-founder, co-author, whatever you want to call it, of this concept, of this word, and how it fits with me. Osmosis, again, the gradual scientific term, you can use it colloquially. It's the bringing together of, gradual bringing together of particles, or it could be ideas, knowledge, people. Put the Z in there, Wizard of Oz, right? So we already talked about that, all the nicknames and stuff that I had with my last name, Osberg. So it's beautiful that you asked that question, because it's something that we talked about, others like a Steve Colton from Encore Golf, and that, we talked one day, and just me too, self-reflection, self-examination, that it's not like everyone calls me Johnny Osmosis, like the power of osmosis is real. Like that's the thing I love to say. And when you really step back, and in the moment, I didn't really realize when I started using that language, what it really meant.
Right.
And what it means then is that osmosis isn't me. It's not Johnny Osmosis. It's not the company. It is the act of networks and humans and events, content, ideas, conversations that are coming together, and they're fusing, and they're working towards a goal, an effort, an objective. And again, there's always that focus on humanity, like you mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, and so it's actually yourself and so many others that I'll do 5 or 6 people: Chuck Collard, John Bordage, Valentino Dixon. The list is a million. I can't even start. I can't even go anywhere, because they're within the osmosis network. Without them, they know it, but maybe not in that parameter, right? The osmosis network, which is something coming one day soon. But so it's about who's within it. It's not about me, and it's about how can we band together our energy, our resources, our time, our passion, and our what did I say? Energy? I think I did say it twice.
More than once.
There you go, for emphasis. And then it's about how do we channel that and direct it to the right place so that we can impact and create legacy.
It's when I think about it, we're talking about this network. It's not just all positivity. It's the genesis of how do we help others and lift them up. I always like to say there's 2 kinds of people in this world: those that lift you up and those that bring you down. But also, I've asked you, now that you're in this, you've transformed yourself, and you're in this perfect mindset of where you want to be. What do you do when you have a bad day or a bad moment? How do you overcome that? Osmosis is a good example of that, because I'll text you, I'm like, hey, you got a minute? Or you'll text me like, listen, I'm stressed out a little bit, just hear me out. So osmosis isn't just about this group of friends that does charitable things. It's also about, hey, we have somebody struggling for a few minutes. I know I can call you. I know I can call Yoga Steve.
Steve Proctor, let's go.
Yeah, right. Or whoever it is. Just shoot him a text, or a morning text of motivation. So as part of your transformation and osmosis, when you're down, I think it's important to recognize. In the past, it would be, let's go grab a beer. Now it's like, no,
a couple Red Bulls.
Whatever.
Watch the news.
Yeah, right. Now it's like
for the day, pizza.
That's not healthy. How can the healthy version of me overcome the obstacles? And they could be minor, they could be major. It could be a health issue. I know you've talked about food allergies in the past, and we have a family member who struggles with that. Or it could be a minor one, like I spent too much money, on Netflix or whatever. You know what I mean? So let's start then, and just to restate it, it's what do I do, and what maybe can the audience learn from us, from this conversation, from me, I guess, in the sense of what happens when you do hit that bottleneck, that blockade, that dark day. And part of it, and I just want to add to that, is being vulnerable enough to know that I can go to you. You can come to me, and I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to. And it could be you could have done something really stupid, like who knows, whatever it is. But
plenty of that.
Yeah, like listen, I wrote a whole book on it. But I'm not going to judge you. I'm just going to say, all right, well, let's talk through it. How can I help you? You know.
Yeah, and there's a great. I mean, and again, just acknowledgement to you. I mean, just again for our audience in Kevin's questions there are action items, there are insights that we can take, that I can take, and I do take from him. And so thank you for the question and for the insight. To answer that, to start with kind of something simple, one of the simpler things you can do is to kind of just get away from whatever it is you're doing. So, we're in front of a lot of screens nowadays. We got a lot of people after us, text, calls, emails, on a million different platforms. If you got the news on, immediately turn that off. It's not to demonize the news, but it is almost demonizing the news because of how negative.
By the way, we know some news people. We like you.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, everyone's great. But it's just the negativity it's rooted in. So anyway, the point is, the minor things are to, if you can, get outdoors, call a friend, find that podcast that might be inspiring you, or has inspired you, or that you really love, that it can help your morale and mood. Something simple like that. But if you start to go down the spectrum of let's move to the more the intermediate or the major, I mean, the things like service to others, it's a Tony Robbins thing that I've talked about a lot in other media. And that's the best way to get, yourself out of suffering is to help others out of their suffering. It's something that you love to do with all your charitable works with American Cancer Society and Buffalo City Mission, and the list goes on. It's you're putting yourself in a place to see that there are others that, again, we're never comparative in the sense, but it's perspective.
Right.
So you see there are others struggling with things that are second nature to you. Right. Clothes, food, shelter, all that
materialism.
Stuff. Yeah. And it's so there's a great perspective that can be lent when you realize I'm gonna have to make a minimum payment on this credit card because I just don't have the funds. But well, guess what? You can make the minimum payment. And even if you can't make the minimum payment, you still have a credit card. So
it's funny you say that. You can also say, you can spin it to say, I'm fortunate enough that I can make the minimum payment.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So that's
correct.
Perspective.
Correct. And even if you can't, though, I was saying, well, you have a credit card. And you can always find a way to say, there's gratitude to be found. It sounds crazy. Even the darkest moments of my life and of others and the people I study and I, the concepts, the research, the things that I obsess over, it's amazing how you can arm yourself with these little tips and tricks. And Dr. Andrew Huberman of Stanford says these real-time tools. Mm-hmm. So things like your breathing, hydration, staying away from negativity, whether it's negative people or content or habits. It's just crazy, how life. So again, that service to others is huge. And then one other thing too that you can really do is to share your struggle on a platform, which goes back to your vulnerability and candor. There's a misconception in the world that vulnerable people are weak. It is not true.
You're actually stronger.
You are the strongest. You are the strongest of the group because you are willing to share your inadequacies and stand there, quote, nakedly, as Tom Bilyeu from Quest Nutrition and Impact Theory says. There's a power, and even David Goggins, there's a power to being able to expose yourself to the world and say, judge me, go for it. I don't care. I don't care because I have internal validation. And that goes back to kind of the question you asked, is the internal validation has to be found. And if it is not, then you will never be able to sustain because if it's all external, it's materialism, if it's friends, approval from the family, from whatever, that's where you run into huge problems. And that's where you'll find that cyclical. If you're working out for 3 months and something goes wrong, you don't know internally why you're doing it. You were looking for external validation in whatever form. Well, now your 3-4 month workout streak is gone because you don't have that source. But if you have it inside, it's always there.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because internal validation is something that, it's easy to get the outside influence, but a lot of times the way I view it is you simply say to yourself, all right, is what I'm going to do right or wrong? And it could be a major thing or it could be a minor thing. And I've talked to you about this. Do I need to eat a bag of Doritos now? Is that the right thing to do?
Does this serve me?
If I'm trying to get in shape, is that right or wrong? That's probably wrong.
Use objectivity, neutrality.
But a lot of times it's you're with your friends and, you don't think, right.
They're doing it. They're doing
exactly. So
what's one bag of Doritos? That's the mentality. What's one beer? What's one, one whatever.
Yeah. And as part of, as you're talking there, one of the things I want to point out is that, as Osmosis has grown, it's not just podcasting, but it's also you coach people, and whether it's individually or groups or companies or teams. And part of that is, and I want you to talk about that, but part of that is you're growing too. Like you're not preaching. You're saying to people, listen, I'm here to help you, but this is beneficial to me because there's a lot of takeaways here that I'm going to research and I'm going to learn from. And I've seen you do it.
I say it too. I'll tell the whoever the student, the subject,
right.
the client, whatever it is, I'll say that. And it goes back to candor, authenticity, and vulnerability. It's
and you're not a know-it-all, but you're just, but you're a want to know it all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I want to always strive to learn, to evolve, right? How can there's so much out there that we don't know that we should, if it's in your purview, if it's in your interest group, then you should be striving towards that actualization of knowledge. Right?
And it's funny when you direct your energies. We go back to energy. Your energies. In the past, and I'm guilty of it too. Having beer and goofing around and whatnot. But you direct your energies towards reading and learning and living better. That it's an easy transition. It's hard to do, but it's simple to do.
It is.
You know what I mean?
It's something that Jim Rohn says it best. The easy things are the easiest things to do, but they're also the easiest things not to do.
Right.
And so going back to your question about that coaching and being open and honest and the one thing I'd like to color in this conversation, and that's a great question, Kev, is that I'm never going to sit down with someone, whether it is a coaching situation or if it's a powwow, little pal around with friends, with mentors. And I often find myself in situations where people they know the ethos I'm putting out, the message I'm putting out. So a lot of times I'm getting a lot of outreach about, John, like I wanted to talk to you or pick your brain, which is a phrase I don't really like, but I want to connect with you about this issue I'm having or this opportunity or whatever. So the one thing I want to make clear on this conversation is that I'm, and I've heard other and I'm not here to be comparative or to rain down on anyone, but I have heard other coaches, consultants, whatever, say things like, whether local or global, doesn't matter. Even people I look up to, because Bruce Lee, take what's useful, discard what's not, uniquely make it your own. So even like one of the bigger names out there that's got millions of followers will say certain things, and I'm just like, from my experience, from my set of lenses, from my, my energy, my insights, my mind, that doesn't really work in my life equation. Right. So what does that mean? So when I sit down with someone, I'm going to set out options for them, and this is a John Maxwell thing with Ed Milet, that one podcast I sent you last week that I was just preaching to everyone in my network, like, you got to watch this 50-minute podcast. John Maxwell said, there's a power to telling someone something. Like, hey, Kev, if you want to do better in life and you want to work out of those depths, give service to others, right? So that's cool. That's telling. How about this? So you say, you tell. So Kev, if you want to get out of a dark hole, give service to others. That's going to help you remove yourself from your suffering. And there was an instance where actually, I did this last week, Kevin, I did this last week where I worked with a group of people at the Buffalo City Mission, and they were from all walks of life, and, they had just come in, the refugees, and I sat with them for a couple hours, and we did bingo. This is what you do. I don't do this, but we did bingo, and I got to know these people on a human level. And so, I was there, I'm getting goosebumps. I connected with them and I got to know them, and we had conversations, and it was really interesting to hear things like, how they just left their country of origin. And so that is real time. That is real action. So you're not just telling a subject or a student or client, whatever, but you're showing them too. So telling and showing is 100x more powerful. So again, I'm going to lay out options. We're going to have a conversation. It's always going to be neutral. And I'm going to listen to you. 2 ears, 1 mouth. Right? I'm going to listen, I'm going to take notes, and I'm going to get to know you. And I'm going to also make certain that it is a safe space. This is our conversation, and there will be no one else that will ever hear this unless the FBI is listening to my conversations. Just kidding.
If they are, they've got
a lot of other things to worry about. Exactly. But so that's the key there. It's all neutral. It's always, it's never prescriptive, right? It's not like you have to do X, Y, and Z. Right. It's like, here are a couple options for you to consider. Here's how it's worked for me and worked for scores of others, people I study, people I know, people I've impacted through my coaching. And then I walk the walk, right? I don't just say, like, go run. I'm out there running 80 miles in a week, and I'm running rain or shine, and I'm taking media in, and I'm putting it on my LinkedIn's and my platforms that show the world that I am not just telling, but I'm showing.
Right. Yeah, it's funny. We have kids that are 24 and 20, and I remember I heard this phrase a long time ago as we were raising them, which is kids learn from not seeing the front, but seeing your back, which goes to your point, which is you can sit there and tell a child, hey, do this, do this, do this. Is that going to be really effective? No, but let me go show you.
Right. And so then they watch you do it. So
right. And you're like, hey, Dad's doing that. That's probably how I should be doing it. And it's funny. One of the words you've said, I think I've counted four times.
That's 4. Yeah.
I was thinking 3 or 4.
That's good.
4 times. Is that you said the word neutral. Mm-hmm. So we've talked about neutral thinking.
Trevor Moawad.
And
Limitless Minds.
The importance of neutral thinking, and it's a phrase I didn't really know of or think about until you brought it up.
Throw in your purview, man. It's unbelievable.
The point of it is, not to get too low, not to get too high. How do I stay neutral? And you can take that the wrong way. You can think, well, that's kind of boring because life, you should be passionate about things. You should be happy. You should be sad. But I think the point is, if you kind of go back to a neutral mindset and you don't fluctuate too much on everything, it helps you to deal with day-to-day things.
Self-preservation.
Yeah, whether it's good or bad. But yeah, celebrate your victories. Be sad when there's a loss. But that neutral mindset is really important for people to understand a little bit. And I want you to talk about that because you've said it.
Neutrality. There it is. We got to 4. Well, yeah, and so again, shout out to Trevor Moawad of Limitless Minds. He's Russell Wilson's mental conditioning coach, Mike Trout, the list goes on. I've learned a lot from Trevor. I've even interacted with Trevor on different social media.
Yeah.
I mean, what he's doing is fantastic. So, differently said, it's objective, right? So be objective with your thinking. And yeah, you're spot on. Like how you can have those highs and you're going to have those lows. But at the end of the day, if you can keep it in the center, it's going to help you self-preserve. So what does self-preserve mean? We are in a time right now that and you've heard this a billion times, where, economy, social justice, the news, politics,
COVID.
the list goes, COVID, pandemic, the list goes on. So that's why that book, it Takes What It Takes by Trevor Moawad last year came out, and I've listened to it probably 5 times. I've gifted it. I've sent it out. I can't count how many times. But it was perfect because, how do we, Trevor says in his book, you just got divorced. You just lost your job. Hey, man, be positive. It's going to be okay. Like, how does that sound to you? How do you
leave me alone. I don't want to hear that.
What? Like, just major life occurrence happened. Now I'm going to be positive.
Right. And
you can apply that to anything. If in sports, we're down 28-0, whatever it is. And, be positive. But instead it's like, let's be neutral.
Yeah.
Let's say, okay, let's use,
what's the next play? What's my next hour like?
100%. Let's use, let's say you lost your job. So you lose your job. And the subjective or non-neutral thing to do would be get upset. Oh my God, what am I going to do with my income,
my life is
family,
over.
I'm screwed. Why, let's say you got fired even or let go. It's like, what did I do wrong? Oh my God, I'm inadequate. There's a problem, whatever. Flip the script, get to the middle, get a notepad, and reflect. It's with yourself. So again, rooted in objectivity. Don't lie to yourself when you're writing these notes down. Like, what did I do wrong? What could have led to this outcome? Right. Write it down. Talk about it. First with yourself. And after you get that all kind of encapsulated, if that's a word, I always use it, I don't know if it is. If you get it, all documented and you're at peace with it and you see what it says and you understand, okay, I was tardy, which I was tardy myself today, and I am a lot, which I need to fix, but you're tardy, you missed deadlines, you did whatever. You write it down. Okay, now I know what the inputs were.
I'm acknowledging it.
To create an acknowledgement piece. Again, Yoga Steve, there's a power to acknowledgement, but that processing of what I've done to get me here, and you write it out, and there's no mincing of words.
You take ownership of it.
You own it. It's Jocko Willink. The list goes on. Extreme ownership. It's like, this is what happened. And so then what happens is you can now take that, let's say you wrote those notes down in your phone, which I'd still say write it down. But you can take that now, Kev, and you can have conversations with your support system, with your family, with your network, with a professional if you wanted to go, say, to therapy or whatever. If it was what's the word, impactful enough, negatively impactful enough, go see a therapist. Go break the stigma, but of mental health, I should say. But so the point is, being objective and just saying, I screwed up. I made a mistake, and we all make mistakes, and we got to give ourselves a break and forgive ourselves, and also understand that we're not perfect. We're imperfect beings. So at the end of the day, the takeaways are to be objective, to stay in the middle, even though there are going to be those highs and lows. Document things, understand what it is that led you to whatever happened, even the positive. Okay, great. Let's flip that really quick, and then here we are. Even on the positive side, very quickly, you land that huge contract, 100 G's in the bank. Let's go. Well, guess what? Okay, so what now what? Greg Paulus, now university's men's basketball coach. So what now what? Bad thing happens? So what now what? Good thing happens? So what now what? So good thing happens? Great. Let's learn from why this happened and let's replicate it. Instead of saying, I'm going to go drop 50 G's on that sick car. I'm killing it. This is amazing. No, stay in the middle. And again, you can be excited. You can celebrate it, as you said, and you have to, because that's what's going to keep you fueled and going. What is the point of life if we're not happy? That's what we're all here to do. We're here to actualize on our journeys, on our passions, on our purpose, and we're here to be happy. So that's the positive, negative, and I'll flip it back to you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's that topic alone could be an hour-long podcast or whatever.
And it's hugely applicable now, because
pretty soon, you've been saying a lot of names. Like, I can't wait to hear somebody say, dropping a John Osberg osmosis quote in, when Tony Robbins or somebody does that down the road, because it's going to happen.
Law of attraction, and here's one of them. I don't want to overspeak you here, but law of attraction first. You talked about it earlier, right? So it's like I haven't joked yet, but our millions of listeners and watchers, and I should unpack why I say that.
Is this going out on the internet, by the way?
All right. Not right now. It isn't. It'll be edited. Don't you worry. But law of attraction, millions of listeners and followers. But here's a John Osberg-ism, or Johnny Osmosis-ism, from apology to appreciation.
Yeah.
What does that mean? You're on a backlog of texts, emails. It's been a long lead time of your conversation with that person. Instead of living in apology, which is negative, which is no one wants to live in apology. No one wants to continually say, I'm sorry.
You feel
It'll
like
beat you up.
You feel like you're begging almost. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to do this. Yeah. And it's something I've struggled with candidly too, where I qualify how much I talk. I qualify these rants I go on. I call them rants or diatribes or sidebars. In real time, I'm doing it. These are things that I still struggle with to this day for reasons I don't need to get into now. But the point is of that. Live in appreciation and gratitude, as I always love to say, instead of apology. So instead of saying, I'm so sorry for delaying my text, my email, my response, it's, hey, I appreciate your patience. I really do. It's meaningful to me that you've reached out about X, Y, and Z. Love to reconnect. And again, I appreciate your flexibility. Instead of the, I'm sorry for this, sorry, it's apology to appreciation.
I get this all the time at work. People call me up internally at the bank, and they'll say, hey, I'm sorry to bug you, but do you have a few minutes? And I'm like, I tell them every time,
don't be sorry.
Why are you apologizing? Like, this is my job. I'm like, we need to talk about things, and I'll help you out, but never apologize for calling up if you're looking for help.
And there's a great point to derive from there, and it goes back to another John Osberg, just to do it because it's funny, but it's your mind listens to your mouth.
Right.
And so this is now back to Trevor Moe, and I'm dropping all these names. People be like, dude, all right, let's turn this podcast off. But I can't help it. It's what osmosis is all about. So this is me. This is who I am. I know I'm on the right path, and that's it. I'm going to own it. But, your words matter. Something that Trevor loves to say. Your words matter, and your mind listens to your mouth. So when you're saying I'm sorry like that all the time, people don't even realize it.
Right.
There are things we do that are a habit, habitual, they're behavioral, that you're subconsciously doing. You don't even realize it's just there. It's a mechanism built. So how do we deconstruct those mechanisms? How do we identify first what mechanisms do you currently have that are not working well for you, that are impacting you in ways you may not even know, in ways that are impacting your sleep. Right. If you're tracking your sleep, you'll know it. But if you're not, you may be doing things in your daily life that impact your sleep. That sleep is the root of all of our health. Without good sleep hygiene, you can't live well. You can go run all these miles, you can go kill it, you can do this, you can do that, breathe. You got to have your sleep first. So again, I'm ranting, but your mind listens to your mouth.
So you're a young entrepreneur building a business, and you've got struggles. What do you do aside from reaching out, or maybe it is just reaching out? How do you overcome those? And then where are you going? Like, where do you want to see osmosis? Where do you want to see yourself? I know you just got engaged. Congratulations. Fiance's definitely like hit it out of the park.
Let's
but
go.
You know, next steps today, moving forward, osmosis, the future of osmosis, the future of you. Like, what's a vision? And I know that people are, when they see this, I know it will trigger something in somebody to say, I need to look that up. I need to follow this. I need to do that. It's all positive, you know? So I know you have your peaks and valleys like everybody else. And just like Elon Musk starting a big $1 billion business, there are struggles day to day. It's like a tadpole. You got to keep it alive, you know, in the first couple months. You're 6-8 months into this business. So the future of you and osmosis.
Yeah, I think that'll be a great place to conclude and adjourn. This has been fantastic. And so appreciate you, Kev, for being here. And it'll be a good takeaway and finishing point for our listeners and watchers. And there's a lot of volatility in entrepreneurship. It's been said, it's been documented. And until you're in it, you really appreciate it, what it's all about. And so again, I mean, tracing it back to neutrality, and like, you start the day at 5-6 a.m. in the morning, you get that workout, you're on a high, you start getting the emails, there's a fire that has come up, you have to address it, now you're down at the bottom. You know, later in the day, you get a call from that client, we're locked in, we're doing it, you're at a high. The days are incredibly volatile and they fluctuate. And so it's that, let's not get too high, let's not get too low. So again, neutrality, I can't stop, beating that drum enough. But also it goes back to purpose, right? So it goes back to your purpose. So, the reason why I can continue to do what I do is because I know that I'm on the right path. I have my purpose, my why, as Simon Sinek likes to say, your why. And so you first have to identify that in order to then start to, create fuel that will become eventually infinite in a sense, in that, once you're fully actualized in your mission, you can then start the journey to self-actualization, which is to fulfill that dream, that passion, that journey, that vision of who you are. So staying in the middle, finding great mentors like you, Kev, or not finding them, in some ways, I didn't find you. We just ran into each other through, again, I think universal energy, the pull, and then also, again, you might have that support. You already have a support system, hopefully, in some way, shape, or form, but identify it. Be intentional about identifying it.
Everybody has a support system, but I think people lack the strength to say, I need to reach out to somebody, like in my support system, to show the vulnerability. You know what I mean?
Well, David Goggins, man, we're all jacked up. He says a different word. It starts with an F, but he uses jacked up. We're all jacked up. Everyone's got a problem. Everyone's got an issue. We all have our secrets, our whatever the heck you want to call it, our inadequacies, our fears. And so just know that. Just tell yourself every single day, like, I'm talking to you, you got your set. I got my set. But being open about it and understanding that if I come to you, Kev, and say, listen, I'm struggling with something, whatever it may be, there's a chance that you might be struggling with the same thing. It may not happen there, but you might have experienced it in the past. You might know others that are having that happen to them. And so then you can shed light on saying, well, listen, John, like any good mentor would do, like I like to do in my coaching, with not being prescriptive, but just laying options out. Consider this, think about that, try this happened over here, this worked for this guy or gal. So in the end of the day, it's that neutrality, it's the passion, it's the support system, and just
so future of osmosis then, like, how do you want to see this grow, and where do you want it, like, what's your perfect vision of you / Johnny Oz?
Man, the Blizzard of Oz.
Blizzard of Oz.
Not the wizard, but the Blizzard. So wrapping up, for me, the vision would be this podcast to really continue to do its thing and to have great folks like yourself on. And I've got quite the list coming up here. This May and June are going to be incredible. Even I consider you to be a celebrity for me, but even some really high impact individuals. Even just putting out a few names: Chef Bobby Anderson of Niagara Falls, New York, who was on Hell's Kitchen and is just in this incredible youth development, community development, just true lighthouse of inspiration. Valentino Dixon, I just talked to him yesterday. We were catching up, and exoneree of 27 years, wrongfully in prison, is unbelievable artist. There's no one like him on the planet of the earth. He's here in Buffalo, so he's become a friend. He'll be on the show, and just scores of other incredible human beings.
Coaching, and so the podcast. So the podcast is one.
law of attraction accountability moment here for myself is to get in front of that camera more and start shooting content that I can put into courses and seminars and a productized type thing. So that folks I can start to kind of cast the net.
And I know people have gone through your individual coaching sessions and they're saying, that was great. I want to do it again. I've just got to find time and make sure.
But then it's a burn on me in a sense, because I cannot talk to a million people. Right. I mean, I can talk to a million through these products. Right. Through these yeah, exactly. So, and then just continue to do great work in the community, having Osmosis start to impact and hopefully positively impact the many organizations that we're we're collaborating on is the word I'm looking for, right? Connect, collaborate, champion. And so just continue to use Osmosis, the vehicle here that I have with video. Again, this is where we'll finish here, of course, but so the shout out always to Vidwheel Creator Network at the beginning there, and then here at the end, and that I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without this beautiful setup, and then 599 Delaware, Inset, Mike Davern, yourself, the list goes on. But again, this is real life, real time Osmosis, what it's about. It's not me, it's the we. And it's not just saying it, but it's really living it.
Yeah, you are a success, and you're gonna continue to success. And I think the phrase I want to finish with is old phrase you've heard, which is, find something you love and you never work a day in your life.
Couldn't be any truer.
And that's where you are.
Couldn't be any truer, Kevin. It's another Johnny Osmosisism of that. It's a living cliche, man.
Yeah,
it's a real life cliche. When you find that purpose and you start to actualize it,
follow him, and it's gonna make your day better.
Appreciate that, brother. Right. And right back to you. Thanks, Kev. So again, thank you, Kev. I call you 007.
Thank you, Johnny.
Pierce Brosnan lookalike. Follow Kev as well. I'll put show notes of LinkedIn information. Again, KeyBank. Again, he's so humble, a lighthouse of inspiration, and what he's doing in the community, both business and civic, are just unbelievable. So thank you, Kev.
Yeah, thanks for the time.
Thanks everyone here for all the
this
work.
This won't be the last of these.
Yeah, we'll do more of these, and
You'll have Jimmy Fallon hosting next. Hey, John, tell me about yourself.
I'm bringing my squad, brother. Yeah. And if they call me and say, listen, I want you on the show,
that's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
We'll see, but I'll say my squad's with me. It's like Entourage, right? We're trying to finish here.
Vinny Chase.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is. Yeah, I don't want to say I'm Vinny. I know what you're saying, but like, all right. No, no. What I don't mean it like that. What I mean is, like, I don't want to sound arrogant and like, oh, I'm Vinny Chase, multi-millionaire movie star. But it's like, yo, I'm not going anywhere unless my squad's with me, and that's it. So unless my squad's coming, then we're not going. So everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I look forward to interacting more with any of you that might find this useful. And again, shout out to Vidwheel Creator Network. And just as I like to say, you got this, we got this. Keep going. Johnny Osmosis 007. We're out. Thank you.